Hello, so we're about to watch the Marvel Studios What If trailer. This is the animated series that's based off the comic series of What If, which is essentially alternate ways stories could have gone and what would happen if they would happen. The one I'm the most familiar with is What If based on Civil War, is what if, Captain America had won or whatever. Basically, what happened if what happened if something else had happened during Civil War. Can't remember which one it was now. Um, and yeah, it's a fully cast animated series, so which is historically unusual for animated series based off films. They tend to get people to do the voices who aren't original film actors, but most of the, if not all, the characters are voiced by their film stars. Already done a bit on the teaser for this, so let's just go straight in and watch the actual trailer and see what we think. Might help if I switch to the actual to the thing.
Yeah, peace. I love peace. I'd be out of a job with peace. Do we know each other?
Time. Reality. It's changeable.
Where you want to be? That's the question, isn't it?
Every universe is different. Each one unique.
Slow down a little bit. There's a few people in the room that don't understand. Not me, I get it.
Who are you?
The name's Captain Carter.
Scheiße! I am the Watcher. I observe all that transpires here. But I do not, cannot, will not interfere. I guess I have to freestyle then.
We have you outnumbered.
A Ravager never flies solo. I said never flies solo.
Is that some kind of catchphrase?
You had me worried for a second.
Journey to face the unknown and ponder the question. What if?
So this is interesting to consider. After all, it's interesting to consider after what we've, just been learning in Loki, what we're obviously going to learn in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I can never get that film title right. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And what we're supposedly also going to learn in the next Spider-Man film. So, yeah. I'm just quickly glancing at the cast list. So as far as I can see, they've not said who's been cast as Tony Stark. So it's unclear if Robert Downey Jr. is reprising his role, because we heard him in here. But yeah, so we saw him in here. We heard him in here, and it sounds like Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. If not a bit off, but I mean that might just be me imagining it. But let's go through it and let's see what we can see in here. So obviously we start off with the famous opening of Iron Man, but instead of Stark being hit by shrapnel from a missile, Killmonger appears and throws it away, which is interesting. So this is Killmonger in what appears to be his kind of military uniform. We knew he was like special ops or something for the US military. So before the events of Black Panther, there was nothing to suggest that Killmonger had any kind of special abilities, certainly not to pick up a missile and throw it. So something's going on here. Not clear what, but he has some kind of supernatural strength. I mean, this is interesting because it's not kind of, it's not the question that you'd ponder what if Killmonger appeared at the beginning of Iron Man, because you'd have no reason to think their paths would cross. Especially because, obviously with the time difference between Killmonger being a character in Marvel and Iron Man in 2008. So it's an interesting situation to be in. It's very out there, and that's not, it's not a situation we've seen go differently. It's a completely new factor in a new situation. If that makes sense. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of justify that, and why that's the case. So yeah, helps him up and they walk up into the sand. Obviously, we see the Watcher, who is voiced by Jeffrey Wright, and I'm interested because I think one of my Watchers is one of my favourite characters in the Marvel kind of domain. Not sure who these. Also, I'm not sure who's doing the voiceover here. I think it might be, blanking Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, or somebody as the Ancient One, because according to Wikipedia, the voice actor for the Ancient One hasn't actually been declared yet. But it's based off Tilda Swinton's Ancient, which is interesting considering all that's kind of lately been said about the character. Rightly so, of course, but it wasn't done the best way and was still a form of whitewashing. But that's kind of, that happened. So interesting, they kind of, but I guess it's happened, so they kind of have to, continuity wise. So, I mean, the stance makes me want to say that's Doctor Strange, but I don't actually know. I want to say the costume, the outfit on the left is that of what's her name, Ramonda. From Black Panther, so could be in the caves under Wakanda. Tree. Is this Wakanda? I feel like I should know what this is from. Kind of blanking here. So here we see Doctor Strange kind of messing around, apparently with time, and then gets sucked into some kind of portal. And we know that Benedict Cumberbatch. I think we know Benedict Cumberbatch is coming back as Doctor Strange. There is no rhyme. Oh no, we did. The voice actor for that hasn't been announced either. No one's been recast, but the solo characters haven't had their voice actors announced yet. And so here we see the first of a series of match cuts. So we get the famous recreation of the scene from Avengers, and then it cuts to an equivalent scene, equivalent characters, I should say. Well, not even that. So we have what appears to be Black Panther, or possibly Killmonger, on the left. We have Gamora, who is interestingly wearing Thanos' Yuri armor and his blade, which is very interesting. So it's like, has she become the warlord instead of Thanos? We have Star-Lord, who is probably not Chris Pratt's Quill Star-Lord. And I think you can see the skin's darker, so it's probably T'Challa. T'Challa Star-Lord. Then we have Thor, which is also interesting. And then we fade out, so we don't see what else is going on here. But that's interesting. I don't think it's meant to be a connection between the two events. I think they just they recreated the orbital shot, and I think it's probably going to be possibly from two different things. That being said, it does seem to be set on Earth, albeit in, I want to say Tokyo, a Japanese country, but correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously my familiarity with East Asian languages isn't anything good. So it's interesting that the some members of the Guardians of the Galaxy are actually on Earth. I think this is probably T'Challa, Star-Lord, flying through like traffic. And then well, it makes sense because we see them appear later on. I'll talk a bit more about T'Challa, Star-Lord in a second. So we see the Hulk. Pause, please. See the Hulk fight. We see Banner transform into the Hulk and fight a whole bunch of mooks. Possibly Skrull. I can't tell. It's too blurry. Could be darker Diamond people. But that is Mark Ruffalo returning as Bruce Banner. We see a bunch of Iron Legion-esque suits fly around. So that's probably them fighting forms of Ultron, maybe. We see Loki, who we know is voiced by Tom Hiddleston. And we also see in the background, can't remember his name now. But one of the Warriors 3. But there seems to be Loki leading Asgard, which he's wearing his traditional armor. He seems much younger, so it's probably what if Loki was like, if Loki had won, or if Thor hadn't come back and returned. It's interesting that we're seeing a Loki variant after Loki. So my question, I guess, I don't know if I might have said this about 5 minutes ago and forgotten, is if this is going to actually tie into the MCU, because it's an anthology series of different scenarios, and obviously in the comics each of these different scenarios would have been a different reality. So is this going to be playing on the same thing that Loki's introduced, and are these all meant to be multiple timelines? Like, for example, basically what I'm saying is Loki going to end with the multiverse running rampant, and this is us seeing these multiple universes actually in action, or is it just going to be pretty much a standalone series that doesn't have any ramifications on the MCU? I hope it's the former. I hope that they're using the fact that they introduced the multiverse to basically be like, well, this is actually now what the different variations are. These are legit branches of the timeline, not just and that seems to be what it's painting it as. So whether or not it ties into the other series, which would be very interesting if that's what happens. So yeah, I think I can see the Warriors 3. I don't know if that's Sif. It might be someone wearing a jacket. But then we see Loki with Asgard Army versus Nick Fury. Who's Samuel Jackson is returning to voice. With some SHIELD agents. So this does seem to be kind of a what if from Thor. Then we see Vision. Not sure what's happening there. We see Howard the Duck. Unsure if Seth Green is returning to voice. I'll be surprised if they don't get Seth Green to return to voice the character. And here we see perhaps one of the most prominently featured what if situations is what if instead of Captain America being Steve Rogers, Captain America was, or Captain Britain I suppose, was actually Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter, with then Steve Rogers being the operator of a proto Iron Man / Ironmonger suit. And so we see kind of a prolonged shot, and then we see Killmonger fighting with what seems to be Wakandans against some robots. A beardless Thor. So here we see here with a sword fighting some Germans. Always great to have Haley Atwell back in the series. So this was interesting. So we see Stephen Strange talk to Peggy Carter. So the series is pitched as an anthology. So and then what normally makes an anthology is all the plots are separate, distinct plots without any kind of crossover or overarching arc. They're all kind of very episodical. But we see Doctor Strange in the same episode. So I wonder if actually what this is alluding to, which would be a change from what was originally established, is that there is episodical. We see different kind of variant branches, different kind of timelines, and then it all kind of ties together as different variants come together, and then it ties into the larger scheme of things. That's what I'm kind of wondering about what's happening here. And we have Toby Jones return as Armin Zola, which is cute. So very explicit about being in Multiverse. Don't know who that is, although it seems to be from the what's it called, micro quantum realm. So we have Starlord. This is T'Challa Starlord. We also have Kraglin. We have Taserface. We have Korath the Pursuer, and we have Yondu as possibly the, well, I guess Ravengers rather than Guardians of the Galaxy. So I can't tell if that's meant to be our Spider-Man or a different Spider-Man. It doesn't look particularly like the MCU Peter Parker, but whose voice actor hasn't been announced yet. But it's interesting because obviously that's the other. Peter Parker is famous for being involved in the multiverse and different, the Spider-Verse. So it's kind of like, it's famous because the Spider-Verse is a film that's been done and is actually well known. It's mostly for the introduction to the concept of multiple realities. So interesting to see how they kind of do that. And then we also have obviously an adaptation of an adaptation of Marvel Zombies, which hopefully won't be too spoopy. And we kind of cut between different shots where you see Ego, who we don't know, no voice actor for Ego. We see Shuri. This is again Doctor Strange. There's the ancient one based off Dylan Sutherland's character. It's her character, voiced by her. that seemed to be Wanda. But the Scarlet Witch isn't. It's a Vision and the Scarlet Witch's voice actors haven't been confirmed, but considering that they've literally just had a series with them actors in, it'd be hard to believe that they weren't able to get them to do the voices here. It seems to be a Black Widow throwing a shield. Vision Ultron drones. This is probably a continuation from the previous shot, so this is Loki using the ice cube thing, I can't remember what it's called, to like defeat S.H.I.E.L.D. Which kind of sets it in the event of 4. I can see we're destroying the background. This seems to be Vision ripping out his own Mind Stone. Who would be helpful if this pause when I ask the pause. Whose head is that? I can't tell. Generally can't tell whose head that is. And yeah, so they're going to be the depressing part of this series. It's going to be Chadwick Boseman's final and sadly posthumous appearance as T'Challa. So I think it's going to be very it's going to tug a lot of heartstrings when that episode airs. And then we see kind of clips from all sorts. There's Iron Man making his armor for the first time. Loki. So yeah, I'm buzzing. Interesting to see. I think my big question is this going to play into the larger scheme of things, or is it not? So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm going to dip away for a bit, and I'm going to come back, and then we're going to watch the Visions trailer from Star Wars. So I'll see you then.